The moment you believe you can control your mind, you begin to take control of everything else. That's the truth most people never hear. Your mind is the control center of your life. If you don't lead it, it will lead you into fear, overthinking, bad habits, and wasted time. This isn't about being perfect or pretending to feel strong. It's about learning how to take your power back, because the way you think decides how you feel, and how you feel decides what you do next. If you've been stuck, unmotivated, overwhelmed, or just tired of repeating the same cycle, this video will show you how to break it. You'll learn how to stop reacting, how to train your thoughts, and how to build daily control over your choices. This is a real guide for real people ready to change. You can overcome anything, but first you must believe that you control your mind, not the other way around. Chapter 1. Take full control of what your mind focuses on. You have the ability to take control of what your mind focuses on. That's not just a nice idea. That's a decision. A decision that must be made every single day, especially when things aren't going your way. You see, the mind is powerful, but it's also sensitive. It responds to what you give it. Feed it worry, and it will create fear. Feed it discipline, and it will build strength. Feed it purpose, and it will give you direction. The question is, what are you feeding it right now? Too many people allow their minds to drift all day. They wake up, check their phones, scroll through nonsense, and absorb whatever noise shows up. Without even realizing it, they start reacting to the world instead of choosing what they want to think about. That's not control. That's surrender. And the truth is, you cannot afford to surrender your mind to the world, because the world doesn't know your dreams. It doesn't understand your priorities. It doesn't care about your peace. That's your job. You must train your mind to work for you, not against you. And how do you do that? You start by noticing what pulls your focus. Really notice it. What are you thinking about first thing in the morning? What's on your mind late at night when you're tired? What are you constantly replaying over and over again? Because if it's things you can't change, people who don't care, or problems that haven't happened yet, you're draining your energy. You're weakening your ability to think clearly. And the longer you stay focused on what doesn't matter, the harder it becomes to move forward. You don't need a perfect day to begin. You just need to stop waiting for permission to take back your focus. Life will always bring distractions. That won't stop. But you can stop feeding them. Every time you choose to direct your attention to something that makes you stronger, something that challenges you, improves you, or brings you closer to your goal, you're exercising control. You're taking your power back. You're building something inside yourself that can't be shaken easily. And you know what happens when you stop letting your mind jump to everything that's wrong? You start noticing what's right. You start creating solutions. You stop complaining and start thinking. You stop feeling overwhelmed and start seeing the next step clearly. That's the shift. That's how you move from surviving to growing, by focusing on what you can do, not what's missing. But it takes effort. You have to fight for that focus every single day, because your mind is used to patterns. It's used to following the same thought loops. If you've been worrying for years, it'll feel natural to worry. If you've been doubting yourself, it'll feel normal to keep doubting. That's not because something is wrong with you. That's just repetition. Your mind has memorized those thoughts. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. You have to interrupt those patterns. Not once, every time. When your mind wants to drift into fear, stop and ask, is this helping me? When it starts comparing you to others, ask, what do I gain by doing this? When it begins replaying something from the past, ask, is this making me better or bitter? Those questions will bring you back. They will help you redirect your attention. And here's the truth most people ignore. You don't control your life until you control your mind. That's where it all begins. The way you think influences the way you feel. The way you feel shapes the way you act, and your actions define your future. So if your thinking is scattered, emotional, negative, or reactive, your entire life will reflect that. That's why this matters so much. This isn't about some surface-level trick. This is about taking ownership of the one thing you carry with you every second, your mind. But don't expect perfection. Expect resistance. Expect it to feel difficult in the beginning. When you start choosing focus over noise, you'll feel uncomfortable. When you start ignoring negativity, people will test you. When you try to stay calm, life might push you harder. That's all part of the process. But you keep going anyway, because this is your mind, this is your peace, this is your future, and you have to care about it more than anyone else does. Every day is a chance to direct your focus to something useful. Read something that challenges you, listen to something that inspires you, write down your thoughts and separate truth from fear. Set one clear goal each morning and give it your full attention. Do something difficult and finish it. These aren't just habits. These are decisions that say, I'm in control. And over time, those decisions become your identity, and the people around you will notice. You'll stop reacting to little things. You'll speak with more clarity. You'll walk with more purpose. You'll handle stress without breaking down. Why? Because your mind is no longer being tossed around. You're driving now. You decide what enters, you decide what stays, you decide where the energy goes. That's real strength. And once you experience that control, even for a few minutes, you won't want to go back. You won't want to live in chaos again. You won't tolerate unnecessary drama. You'll protect your focus the way you protect your time, because you'll understand how valuable it is. Too many people waste years thinking they're stuck when the truth is, they're distracted. They're not broken. They're just overwhelmed by noise. And when you cut through the noise and get back to what matters, everything starts to change. You start to feel proud again. You start to believe in your ability to improve. You stop waiting for someone to fix it for you, because you've already started fixing it yourself, right where it counts the most, in your thinking. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to decide what you will and won't focus on today. Will you give energy to regret or responsibility? Will you think about what's missing or what's possible? Will you feed fear or take the next small step forward? These are choices, not feelings, and the more you choose wisely, the more powerful you become. This is not something someone else can do for you. You can read 1,000 books, watch all the videos, but until you say, I will control where my focus goes, nothing changes. The mind is like a muscle. If you don't train it, it gets weak, it gives in, it settles. But when you challenge it, when you push it to think better, to stay calm, to stay clear, it becomes sharper than ever. And in that clarity, you find strength. You stop being a victim of your thoughts. You become a leader of your life. And from that place, you can overcome anything. Not because the world is easier, but because your mind is stronger. And once your mind is strong, you are unstoppable. Not perfect, but focused. Not fearless, but disciplined. Not lucky, but prepared. And that's what changes everything. Chapter 2. Train your brain to stay strong under pressure. Pressure is not the problem. How you respond to it is. Life is full of stress, setbacks, deadlines, delays, and people who will test your patience. But pressure itself is not here to destroy you. It simply shows you where you stand. It reveals what's weak. It exposes what's untrained. And it demands a response. That's why you have to train your brain. You can't wait for life to slow down. You must become stronger right in the middle of it. Most people break down under pressure because they never practice staying calm. They go through life hoping everything works out smoothly, and the moment it doesn't, they panic. They start reacting emotionally. They lose their temper. They doubt themselves. They shut down, not because they're weak, but because their mind was never trained to hold steady. If you don't practice keeping your mind steady, it won't hold up when the pressure rises. It'll snap. That's not failure. That's just poor preparation. You train your brain the same way you train your body. You put it under resistance. Not once, consistently. And not just when things are easy. You do it especially when it's hard. You don't run away from pressure. You work through it with clear thinking. You make decisions when you're tired. You finish tasks when you're annoyed. You stay focused when everything around you feels loud. This is the training. It is not about feeling good. It's about staying grounded. There's a reason high performers, leaders, and warriors all focus on their mental state. Because talent and knowledge mean nothing if you crumble under pressure. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you lose control every time you're stressed. It doesn't matter how strong you are physically if your thinking collapses when things get tough. Your mind must be able to hold pressure and still perform. That's the goal. But let's be honest, training your brain to stay strong under pressure isn't exciting. It's not flashy. No one sees it. It's a private battle. It happens in the quiet moments when you want to quit but don't. When you want to speak out of anger but hold your tongue. When your emotions are loud but your actions stay calm. That's real mental strength. And you don't develop it by talking about it. You develop it by practicing it daily. Most people think they'll rise to the occasion, but in reality you fall to the level of your preparation. If you've never trained your mind to be steady under pressure, you won't suddenly become calm when life hits. You'll react the way you've always reacted. You'll do what's familiar. That's why it's so important to change your habits now, not when things are perfect, but when life is unpredictable. That's when the training matters most. Start with the small pressures, the phone call you don't want to make, the task you've been avoiding, the honest conversation you keep pushing off. Handle those with focus. Handle them without rushing. Handle them without complaining. Because the way you do small things is the way you will handle bigger ones. If you let yourself avoid small pressure, you're building a habit of weakness. But if you lean in and take control, you're building a habit of resilience. You also need to control what you expose your mind to. You can't expect mental strength if you constantly feed your brain stress, noise, negativity, and fear. If you're always watching things that raise anxiety, if you're listening to people who talk about problems all day, if your attention is always being pulled in 10 directions, your brain is going to stay on edge. That's not strength, that's survival mode, and it burns you out. Start choosing what you allow in. Choose thoughts that keep you focused. Choose inputs that calm you down. Choose conversations that build you up. Every piece of information you consume is either building your brain stronger or making it more reactive. You have to protect your mind like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Without it, you can't make good choices. You can't stay grounded. You can't lead yourself through difficult moments. Mental strength starts with mental discipline. Another way to train your brain under pressure is to breathe. Not just physically, but mentally. When you feel your thoughts speeding up, when your chest gets tight, when your mind feels overwhelmed, pause. Create space. Don't react immediately. Let your brain catch up. Most people don't do this. They rush into decisions, they respond too fast, they say things they regret, and then they carry the consequences. Slowing down under pressure is not weakness, it's clarity. And clarity always wins. There's also a powerful habit you can build, speaking to yourself with purpose. Most people speak to themselves without even realizing it. And most of what they say in their head is fear, doubt, and criticism. That creates a fragile mind. You cannot stay strong under pressure if your inner voice is tearing you down. You must become your own coach. When pressure rises, your words must lift you, not break you. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "I've handled worse." Instead of, "What if I fail?" say, "Let's focus on what I can control." Your words become your mental environment. You are the one living inside it. So make it strong, make it sharp, make it steady. This is not hype. This is survival. Your words either prepare you for pressure or push you deeper into fear. Choose carefully. Understand this. Pressure never asks if you're ready. It just shows up. And when it does, you have two choices: collapse or rise. Rising doesn't mean being perfect. It means staying steady. It means thinking clearly. It means showing up without excuses. And you build that ability through repetition. You build it through hard days. You build it by doing what's uncomfortable without letting emotions control your actions. You also need recovery. Mental strength isn't about never feeling pressure. It's about handling it and recovering well. You need rest. You need quiet. You need space to reflect. People burn out, not because they're weak, but because they never unplug. They carry every pressure into their sleep, their relationships, and their weekends. That's not strength. That's emotional overload. To train your mind, you also need to rest your mind, not with distraction, with intention. Take time to reset. You'll come back sharper. You don't build mental strength overnight. It's built moment by moment. Every time you choose patience over anger, every time you stay focused instead of escaping, every time you do what's necessary instead of what's easy, you're building something powerful. You're proving to yourself that pressure doesn't own you. That's what matters. Don't expect applause. Don't wait for someone to tell you you're doing great. This is private work. It's internal growth. The reward is not a trophy. The reward is knowing you stayed calm when others lost it, that you stayed focused when others got distracted, that you kept going when quitting would have been easier. That kind of self-respect can't be bought. It's earned. There are going to be moments where everything in your life feels heavy. You won't feel motivated. You won't feel confident. You won't even feel strong. That's okay. Because mental strength is not a feeling, it's a choice. And in those moments, when nothing feels good, you still have a decision to make. Will I stay disciplined or will I give in? If you choose discipline, even when it's hard, you win. You grow, you improve. This isn't about pretending to be tough. It's about learning to be stable, not cold, not numb, stable, focused, responsible, steady. That's what strong people do. They don't avoid pressure, they prepare for it. And when it comes, they don't lose control. They lead themselves through it. And if you fall short, don't beat yourself up. Learn, adapt, Go again. That's how strength is built. Not through perfection, but through persistence. You keep showing up. You keep practicing. You keep thinking clearly when it counts. And little by little, your mind becomes something you can depend on, not something you fear. Your future depends on this. Life isn't slowing down. The pressure isn't disappearing. So you must become stronger. And it starts with one moment, one choice, one situation where you decide to be steady when you used to fall apart. That's how the shift begins. You train your brain like a warrior trains for battle, not for attention, not for praise, but because it matters. Because how you think under pressure decides what you do next, and what you do next decides your future. That's the truth. And that truth should push you to train daily, because you're worth that kind of strength.
Chapter 3. Push through doubt by doing what scare you. Doubt doesn't disappear by thinking about it. It disappears by facing it. You won't overcome fear by waiting for it to leave. You overcome it by acting while it's still there. The truth is, fear and doubt are part of doing anything important. If you're trying to build something that matters, they will show up. If you're stepping into the unknown, they will speak loud. That's not weakness. That's proof you're doing something real. The mistake is believing that fear has to go away before you move. That mindset will keep you stuck for years. Most people wait too long. They say, "I'll do it when I'm ready." But what they're really saying is, "I'll wait until I feel comfortable." And comfort is the enemy of growth. Growth always feels uncomfortable. That's the sign you're doing something meaningful. If you never feel nervous, you're not challenging yourself. If you never feel doubt, you're staying where it's safe. But nothing changes there. Nothing improves there. If you want real growth, you have to walk straight into what makes you nervous. You have to take the step that makes your heart beat faster. That's how strength is built. You're not weak because you feel doubt. You're human. Every person you admire, every leader, every expert, every confident speaker, they all started from the same place. They all felt fear. The difference is they moved anyway. They didn't let fear decide their direction. They let action lead the way. That's what separates progress from excuses. The ones who move grow. The ones who wait stay behind. It's easy to make plans. It's easy to think about what you want. It's even easy to talk about your goals. But none of that builds confidence. Only doing the hard thing builds confidence. Only walking into the fire makes you stronger. That's where belief comes from. Not from hoping, not from talking, but from doing. Even if you fail, even if it's messy, you learn that you didn't break. You learn that fear didn't stop you. That's where real growth happens. And fear is not always loud. Sometimes it shows up as hesitation, as overthinking, as endless preparation. You tell yourself, "I just need more time." But time without action doesn't solve anything. You can spend 5 years getting ready, and the doubt will still be there. The only way to break it is to face it head on. You take the action, you feel the fear, and you keep going. That's the breakthrough. Think about what scares you right now, not in general. Be specific. What decision are you avoiding? What truth are you afraid to admit? What move are you hesitating to make because you're not sure how it will turn out? That's the area that holds your growth. That's the exact place you need to step into. Not later. Now, because the longer you wait, the heavier the fear gets. It gains power every time you delay, and it only loses power when you step forward. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving while it's there. Every time you do that, you build a different identity. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who doesn't hide behind doubt, Someone who gets things done even when it's uncomfortable. That's a powerful shift, and that shift changes everything. You don't need to leap all at once. Start small. Start close. Do the task you've been putting off. Make the call you've been dreading. Speak up when you usually stay quiet. Every one of those moments rewires your brain. You stop being the person who avoids things. You become the person who steps into them. And the more you do that, the more your confidence grows. Not because things get easier, but because you get stronger. There's a point where you have to stop researching, stop planning, and stop thinking about the perfect time. You just have to take the first step, because nothing works until you do. And no one can take that step for you. People can encourage you, support you, cheer for you, but they can't walk through your fear. That's your job, and the more you do it, the more unstoppable you become. It's also important to notice your self-talk. Doubt often grows in silence. It builds in your mind when you keep your fears hidden. The way you speak to yourself matters. If you're constantly feeding yourself negative messages, you're reinforcing fear. If you're telling yourself, "I'm not ready, I'll probably fail, people won't like this," then of course you'll feel stuck. You're not building yourself up. You're tearing yourself down before you even begin. You have to flip the script. Speak to yourself like someone you respect. Be honest, but encouraging. Tell yourself the truth. It's okay to feel fear, but I'm doing it anyway. And stop looking for perfect conditions. You don't need full confidence to begin. You don't need to know how everything will turn out. You just need to start. Action creates clarity. Action builds momentum. You figure things out as you go. You grow through experience. Fear will always give you reasons to wait. It will tell you you're not good enough, not smart enough, not ready enough. And it will keep saying that every time you're about to do something that matters. So you don't argue with fear. You move anyway. You let your actions speak. It's not about being fearless. It's about building trust with yourself. Every time you do what scares you, even in a small way, you prove to yourself that you can handle it, that you can face it, that you don't break. That kind of self-trust can't be taken away. It becomes part of who you are. You start carrying yourself differently. You speak differently. You lead differently. Because you've faced what others run from. And don't expect immediate rewards. Sometimes you face fear and still feel uncertain. Sometimes you do the scary thing and don't get the result you wanted. That's okay. You're not doing it just for the outcome. You're doing it to become stronger, to become more honest, to become more capable. The result will come. But even if it takes time, the process itself is making you better. That's what matters most. You can't think your way into courage. You have to live your way into it. You have to do the work. You have to make the move. And when you do, your doubt starts to shrink. Not all at once, but gradually. Every brave action rewires your brain. It sends the message that you are not controlled by fear. You are not held back by hesitation. You are capable of facing what scares you and coming out stronger on the other side. If you avoid fear, it controls your life. It tells you where you can go, who you can become, what you're allowed to try. But when you confront fear with action, you take your life back. You're no longer living small. You're expanding. You're leading yourself into growth. That's where real change happens. Remember, it's not about doing huge things all the time. It's about showing up differently in everyday life. Saying what needs to be said. Trying what you've never done. Choosing effort over excuses. Doing what's right, not what's easy. These are the real victories. These are the wins that build a solid mindset. They add up. They compound. And soon you look back and realize you're not the same anymore. You didn't wait for confidence. You built it. You didn't wait for fear to leave. You walked through it. You didn't let doubt define you. You rewrote the story. That's strength. That's growth. That's how you break limits. Not by avoiding fear, but by using it as a signal to move forward. So next time you feel fear, don't back up. Step in. Use it as your signal. Use it as your sign. Because the thing you fear doing the most is often the exact thing that will change your life. Not because it's easy. Not because it's guaranteed. But because it will shape you. It will test you. It will stretch you into a stronger version of yourself. And that's what this is all about. The future you want is on the other side of fear. Not around it. Through it. And you have everything you need to face it right now. Not when you feel ready. Not when things are perfect. But today. Exactly as you are. Start there. Move forward. Do what scares you. And watch who you become.
Chapter 4. Remove distractions that weaken your mental power daily. You don't lose your mental strength all at once. You lose it little by little every time you give your attention to something that doesn't matter. Distractions are not just loud notifications or endless scrolling. Distractions are anything that pulls you away from what you said was important. Anything that breaks your focus, steals your energy, clouds your thinking, and leaves you wondering where the day went. These small interruptions don't just waste your time, they drain your mind. If you want to build real mental power, you have to learn how to remove what weakens it. Not just once, daily, because distractions don't go away on their own. They keep coming back unless you deal with them. You have to get clear about what is helping you and what is slowly destroying your discipline. This isn't about living a perfect, quiet life. It's about taking back control of what you allow in, because what you allow is shaping how you think. Most people don't even realize how distracted they are. They wake up and immediately grab their phone. They start reacting to other people's opinions, texts, headlines, and gossip before they've even taken a breath for themselves. From the first moment of the day, their mind is being pulled in 10 different directions, and by the end of the day, they feel scattered, tired, anxious, and they have no idea why. But it's not a mystery. Mental power doesn't survive in a noisy life. It collapses when you don't protect it. If you want to be sharp, if you want to think clearly, if you want to have focus that lasts, you need to create boundaries. You need to decide every morning what your mind will be exposed to. You don't start your day by reacting. You start it by thinking, by breathing, by choosing where your attention goes. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And if your attention is all over the place, your energy will be too. Start noticing the little things that distract you. The constant checking of your phone for no reason. The habit of jumping from task to task without finishing one. The way you scroll for 5 minutes and end up losing an hour. These are not harmless. These are not small. They are eating your mental strength from the inside. Every time you let yourself get pulled into meaningless activity, you're training your brain to stay shallow. And a shallow mind cannot handle deep work. It can't solve real problems. It can't stay calm under pressure. It reacts. It bounces. It breaks. You have to decide what deserves your attention. Not everything qualifies. Not everyone deserves your mental space. You can't say you want focus and then let every message, notification, and distraction enter your mind without question. You have to filter. You have to choose, because your mental energy is limited. And once it's gone, it's gone. What you spend it on is shaping the way you live, work, think, and grow. And it's not just technology.
Some of the biggest distractions are mental ones. Worrying about things you can't control, replaying old conversations, overthinking decisions you've already made, imagining outcomes that haven't happened. These thoughts take up space. They crowd your mind. They take energy away from the things that need your full attention. You have to catch yourself when you start to drift. Pull yourself back. Ask yourself, is this helping me right now? If the answer is no, redirect. Mental power comes from consistency. You don't build it by reacting all day. You build it by creating structure. You wake up and decide what matters today. You plan your time. You protect it. You say no when you need to. You take breaks without guilt. You work in blocks. You clear your space. You remove clutter on your desk, on your phone, in your mind. You simplify, because simplicity creates strength, and complexity creates stress. You also have to train your brain to handle boredom. Most distractions are not about interest. They're about avoiding discomfort. People scroll because they don't want to feel bored. They check their phones because silence feels awkward. But if you're always running from boredom, your brain will never learn to focus. It will keep searching for quick relief instead of staying grounded in real work. Learn to sit still. Learn to focus without stimulation. This builds a powerful mind. You don't need more apps. You need more intention. You don't need more productivity hacks. You need fewer distractions. Focus is not a tool. It's a decision. And you have to make it over and over again. Every time you choose your goal over the easy option, your mental power gets stronger. Every time you ignore a distraction and keep working, your discipline gets deeper. These small decisions build the mindset you want, not instantly, but steadily. And don't wait until everything is peaceful. You can't say, I'll focus once things calm down. That day may never come. You must focus while things are loud, while there's pressure, while people are asking for your time. That's when it counts. That's when it matters. Learning to remove distractions when everything feels noisy is the highest level of control. And that level changes your life. It's also important to protect your recovery. Mental power needs rest. Not just sleep, but recovery from constant stimulation. Give your mind space to reset. Take walks without your phone. Read instead of scroll. Journal instead of complain. Meditate instead of panic. Your mind is not a machine. It needs time to reset. And when you give it that, you return sharper, calmer, more creative. This is not a luxury. It's a requirement. Your environment matters too. If your space is full of distractions, your mind will be too. Clean your workspace. Put your phone in another room. Use noise that helps you focus. Create a setting where your brain knows, this is where we work. This is where we focus. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. Small changes in your environment create big shifts in your performance. It's time to take back control. You don't have to accept distraction as normal. You don't have to stay overwhelmed. You don't have to stay overwhelmed. You don't have to live in reaction mode. You can decide right now to build a different kind of life. One where your thoughts are clear. One where your energy is focused. One where your mental power grows stronger by the day. But that life doesn't happen on its own. You create it by removing everything that pulls you away from it. You can't keep saying yes to every distraction and expect to have peace. You can't keep checking your phone every 10 minutes and expect to have focus. You can't keep worrying about things outside your control and expect to have mental clarity. You must be intentional. You must guard your attention like it matters, because it does. It determines the quality of your life. And when you do this consistently, everything improves. You finish what you start. You feel more present. You make better decisions. You stop rushing. You stop feeling scattered. You feel strong. Not because everything is perfect, but because your mind is no longer being pulled in 100 directions. It's focused. It's calm. It's sharp. That's the real reward. Every day, ask yourself, what can I remove? What is stealing my energy? Without giving anything back, what have I allowed into my life that no longer deserves a place here? Start small. One app, one habit, one negative voice. Remove it. Replace it with something that strengthens you. This isn't about being extreme. It's about being clear. And clarity is where power begins. There is no secret. The most focused people in the world aren't smarter than you. They're just more ruthless about their distractions. They decide what matters, and they remove what doesn't. And they do it daily. That's what keeps their mind strong. Not luck, not talent, discipline. And you can do the same. You can protect your focus. You can clean your mental space. You can say no to what drains you, and yes to what builds you. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because a focused mind can build anything, and a distracted mind can lose everything. You don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. You don't need more motivation. You need more clarity. Decide what deserves your attention, and remove everything else. Do that every day, and you'll become the kind of person who stays strong no matter what life throws at you. That's the real advantage, and that's how you win.
Chapter 5. Speak to yourself with power every single morning. The first voice you hear in the morning should be your own, not the noise of the world, not the distractions, not the opinions of others. It should be your own voice, clear, firm, and grounded in purpose. What you say to yourself in the morning shapes how you think, how you feel, and how you act. It's not just about motivation, it's about training your identity. When you speak to yourself with power every morning, you remind your mind who's in control. You stop waiting for the world to set your tone. You set it yourself. Most people wake up and immediately start absorbing whatever shows up. They check their messages, open social media, scroll through headlines, and get hit with everything at once. Before they even take a breath, their mind is already reacting. That's not a powerful way to begin the day. That's starting from weakness. That's giving away control. You have to take that control back. And it starts with the way you speak to yourself when the day begins. What you say in the morning is not just talk. It becomes your standard. It becomes the filter your brain uses for every choice you make. If you start your day telling yourself you're tired, behind, or not good enough, your mind will follow that script. If you speak with doubt, your energy will match that doubt. But if you wake up and speak to yourself with strength, clarity, and direction, everything changes. You stop moving through the day like a passenger. You start leading it. You don't need to recite fake lines. You need to speak what's true, even if it's tough. Say what you need to hear. Say what reminds you of your goals. Say what brings you back to discipline. When you open your eyes in the morning, you have a chance to reset, a chance to build your mindset before the world gets in. Don't waste that moment. Use it to train your thinking. Use it to build inner momentum. Start by being honest. Speak to yourself with clarity. Tell yourself what matters. Remind yourself what kind of person you want to be. That's not a ritual. That's a choice. That's you taking responsibility for your day before it even starts.
People who wait for motivation lose most of their day, but those who wake up and speak power into themselves begin with intention. They move with direction, not reaction. If you want to become stronger, you can't just read or listen. You have to speak. You have to use your own voice. Your brain listens to you more than anyone else. Your words become instructions. They're not just background noise. They're commands your mind will follow. So don't waste them. Don't use them casually. Don't speak weakness into your day. Speak strength, even when you don't feel it yet. This doesn't mean you lie to yourself. It means you remind yourself of what's real. You remind yourself that you can stay focused, that you can stay disciplined, that you've been through hard things and didn't quit, that you're capable of making the right choices today, that you don't need to be perfect to make progress, that your emotions don't get to run the show. You do. Most people have no idea how much they tear themselves down with their own voice. They talk themselves out of progress. They build fear with their words. They lower their confidence with quiet criticism. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. I'm not good at this. This is too hard. I can't do it today. They repeat those phrases and wonder why they feel stuck. But the answer is simple. If you keep repeating weakness, you build it. You can train a different. It doesn't take hours. It takes intention. The first 10 minutes of your day should belong to you. Not your phone. Not your inbox. Not your worries. Just you and your thoughts. Stand in front of the mirror if you have to. Sit in silence. Speak with strength. Tell yourself the truth about who you're becoming. Not just what you've been through. What you're building. What you're aiming for. Say as if you already respect yourself, because that's how you learn to believe it. Don't wait until life feels perfect to do this. That day won't come. Do it when you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're uncertain. Especially then. That's when your voice matters most. That's when it can redirect your focus, ground your thinking, set your standard for the day. Most people let their emotions run wild in the morning and spend the rest of the day trying to catch up. But when you speak with purpose first thing, you stop the chaos before it begins. And no, it won't always feel natural, especially at first. You'll feel strange. You'll feel like it's not working. But you're not doing this to feel good. You're doing this to retrain your brain. The benefits don't show up on day one, but over time, something shifts. Your tone changes, your presence changes. You stop second-guessing yourself so much. You carry yourself with quiet certainty, because you've built it, one morning at a time. There's a version of you that is focused, confident and steady. But that version isn't created by accident. It's created by repetition. Every time you speak to yourself with discipline, you get closer. Every time you reject negative self-talk, you grow stronger. Every time you tell yourself you're capable and then act on it, you reinforce belief. That's how confidence is built, from the inside out. You don't need to sound perfect. You just need to be clear. Speak like someone who's serious about change. Speak like someone who refuses to live on autopilot. Speak like someone who is done waiting for permission. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to hand you the mindset you want. You have to build it. And that starts with your voice, your words, your truth. It's not about shouting. It's about speaking on purpose. Saying something that means something. Something that reminds you to focus. Something that calls you to action. Don't make this complicated. Keep it simple and real. Today I will stay calm. Today I will take responsibility. Today I will do what needs to be done. These aren't slogans. They're instructions. Speak them. Follow them. Repeat them. And be consistent. One morning won't fix your mindset, but one morning can start a new pattern. And if you repeat that pattern long enough, it becomes who you are. You become someone who doesn't just think about growth. You live it. You act on it. You speak it into your life before the world can interrupt it. You won't need external motivation as much anymore, because your words will carry you. Your tone will lead you. Your habits will back you up. That's a powerful place to live from. And the people around you will notice. Not because you talk about it, but because you live it differently. You show up with clarity. You handle stress with calm. You make choices with calm. You make choices without overthinking. That comes from the foundation you build every morning with your own voice. There's a reason you feel off when your mornings are rushed, scattered, or reactive, because your mind hasn't been given direction. Your thoughts are running loose, and the day takes control. But you can change that. You can choose to lead your thoughts before they lead you. It's a choice, and it starts the moment you wake up. Speak like someone who has a mission, like someone who doesn't waste time, like someone who values their energy. Not for show, for substance. Because you know that words matter, and your own words matter most. Not the compliments, not the criticism. Your own voice. What you tell yourself about who you are and what you can do. When you make this a habit, everything else becomes easier. You stop reacting to every opinion. You stop doubting your every move. You stop being your own enemy. You become your own leader. And that shift changes your day. It changes your results. It changes your futures. To yourself like it's your responsibility. Because it is. No one else can do it for you. No one else knows exactly what you need to hear. That's your job. And when you take it seriously, you'll see your mindset transform in ways you never thought possible. All from one simple daily choice. To speak with power. Every morning. No matter what.
Chapter 6. Choose actions that match the life you want. The life you want won't come from what you say you want. It will come from what you choose to do, again and again. Your actions are the real reflection of your value. You can talk all day about goals, dreams, and vision, but none of that changes anything unless your actions match. The person you become is built by what you repeatedly choose, not what you hope for, and that's where most people fall behind. They want a better life, but their actions belong to the same old version of themselves. They want growth, but they keep choosing habits that hold them back. That gap is where frustration grows. If you want to close that gap, you have to look at your life honestly and ask yourself one hard question. Are my actions moving me closer or keeping me stuck? It's not enough to say you want peace and then spend your time in chaos. It's not enough to say you want progress and then keep avoiding responsibility. You can't claim you want strength but keep choosing comfort. You have to act in alignment with your goals. You have to choose discipline when it's easier to delay. You have to choose courage when fear feels familiar. You have to choose honesty when denial would be more convenient. That's what it means to take control. That's what it means to build a life you respect. Too many people separate their actions from their future. They think one small decision doesn't matter, but every choice adds up. Every moment builds something. Whether it's building strength or building regret depends on what you choose right now. You can't expect a powerful life from powerless decisions. You can't expect results from actions you know are holding you back. And the hard truth is this: you already know what's helping you and what's hurting you. You already know what's a distraction and what's a move forward. You just have to stop avoiding the truth and start choosing better. You're not behind because of your past. You're behind if you keep repeating the same choices. If your actions stay the same, your results will stay the same. You can't escape that.
The people who move forward don't wait for motivation. They don't wait for everything to feel easy. They take the next right action even when it's inconvenient. Especially when it's inconvenient, because that's how change works. Not through talk, through action. Every day you have hundreds of choices. You choose whether you hit snooze or get up. You choose whether you complain or take responsibility. You choose whether you stay focused or chase distraction. You choose whether you give effort or hold back. And those small choices become habits. And those habits become your character. And your character shapes your entire life. There's no shortcut around that process. It's consistent action that builds lasting change. Look at the life you want, not the fantasy version, but the real one. What does it require? Who do you need to become to live it fully? What kind of person wakes up with purpose? What kind of person follows through on commitments? What kind of person handles pressure with clarity? That version of you already exists, but you can only reach it by doing what that version would do. That means choosing harder things. That means saying no to what doesn't matter. That means showing up for yourself even when no one is watching. You don't change by waiting. You change by acting. And every time you make a decision that reflects the life you want, you reinforce your belief. You tell yourself, I'm serious, and your brain starts to trust you again. That trust is powerful. Because when you believe in your ability to act, you stop second-guessing. You stop needing outside validation. You move from wanting to becoming. It's easy to fall into the trap of justifying the wrong action. You tell yourself it's just one time, or I'll start tomorrow. But that's how people stay stuck for years. They make excuses for choices that slowly erode their momentum. And then they wonder why things never change. It's not a mystery. If your choices don't match your goals, you're working against yourself. And no amount of motivation can fix that. Only discipline can. And this isn't about perfection. You're going to slip up. You're going to fall short. That's part of the process. But what matters is what you do next. Do you correct the course or do you repeat the mistake? Do you adjust your choices or do you defend your bad habits? Growth doesn't come from never messing up. It comes from taking full responsibility when you do, and doing better the next time. Some days you'll feel inspired, most days you won't. And that's where the real work begins. You take action, not because you feel like it, but because you've decided this is who you are now. That decision is what builds identity. That identity is what carries you when motivation disappears. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are built by repeated action. There's something powerful about waking up and choosing to do what aligns with your best life, even when it's hard. Even when no one notices. Even when the reward isn't instant. That's integrity. That's self-respect. And that creates a kind of inner strength no one can give you, and no one can take from you. Take a moment and think about your current daily actions. Not your wishes. Not your plans, your actual habits. The way you spend your time, the way you treat your body, the way you speak to yourself, the way you handle responsibility. Do those actions reflect the life you want to build? If not, the answer isn't to criticize yourself. The answer is to make a better choice today. One better action, then another, then another. That's how transformation begins. The biggest breakthroughs come from the smallest consistent actions. Drinking more water, getting enough sleep, turning off your phone during focus hours, saying no to drama, showing up to the gym, reading instead of scrolling. These aren't massive acts, but they change your mindset. They remind you who's in charge. They reinforce that you're not living on autopilot. You're building something meaningful. When you start acting like the person you want to become, your life begins to change. Without permission, without perfection, without waiting for someone else to understand. Because you're no longer trying to escape who you are. You're growing into it. You're meeting yourself at a higher level every single day. And people will notice, not because you tell them, but because your presence changes. You carry yourself differently. When your actions align with your values, you walk with more certainty. You make decisions with more confidence. You don't need to prove anything. You're just living in truth. That kind of person becomes magnetic. Not because they're chasing attention, but because they're walking in alignment. This kind of life doesn't happen on accident. It happens on purpose. One choice at a time. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. You can control what you choose, and your choices become your power. The more you align your actions with the life you want, the stronger that power becomes. This isn't about being someone else. It's about being the version of you that's buried under hesitation, excuses, and fear. That version doesn't need to be created. It needs to be uncovered. And you do that by acting in alignment, over and over, until your life reflects the truth of who you really are. It's not complicated, but it is hard. Because choosing aligned actions means sacrificing comfort. It means turning down temptations. It means doing what's right, not what's easy. But what you gain in return is far greater. You gain peace. You gain self-belief. You gain momentum that no one can break, and that momentum turns into results. Every day is a chance to choose again, to choose better, to move one step closer. And no, it doesn't always look impressive from the outside. But that's not the point. The point is to live in a way that you're proud of. The point is to wake up and know that you're not just surviving. You're building something real. And that feeling, that quiet strength, is worth every hard choice you make. So today, ask yourself, what does the life I want require from me right now? Then act on it. No more delays, no more waiting, no more hoping. Just action. Action that matches your vision. Action that leads your future. Action that proves you mean it. That's how you grow. That's how you win. That's how you create the life you know you were meant to live.
Chapter 7. Break your limits by doing hard things daily. You don't know your true strength until you test it. You don't discover what you're capable of by staying comfortable. Growth doesn't happen when life feels easy. Growth shows up when you do something that makes you want to stop, something that pushes your limits and demands more than you think you have. That's where your edge is. That's where you find out who you really are. The problem is, most people avoid that edge every single day. They protect their routine. They stay where it's manageable. They avoid what feels difficult. And in doing that, they create a ceiling on their potential. They convince themselves they've hit their limit. But the truth is, they've just stopped challenging it. The only way to break limits is to do something hard every day. Not once in a while. Not when you feel like it. Daily. And not just physically hard, mentally, emotionally, and personally hard. That conversation you've been avoiding. That task you've been putting off. That decision you've been delaying. Those are your daily tests. That's your real training ground. And every time you walk into one of those difficult spaces and take action, you raise your threshold. You expand what you can handle. You become stronger. Not because it's easy, but because you chose to do what most people won't. You build toughness by choosing discomfort.
Not randomly, but intentionally. You decide, today I'm going to push myself. You look for what's uncomfortable. You find what requires effort. You go directly into it. That's how you stretch your limits. Because the moment you stop choosing hard things, you stop growing. Your body gets weaker. Your mind becomes soft. Your focus drifts. You start breaking promises to yourself. And once you start doing that, your confidence falls apart, piece by piece. You don't need some extreme lifestyle to build resilience. You don't have to suffer endlessly. But you do have to stop avoiding effort. You have to stop chasing what feels easy, because the easy path never builds a strong person. The person who avoids difficulty avoids growth. And over time, they become resentful. Not at others, but at themselves, because deep down they know they could be more, but they chose not to be. That pain is heavier than any workout. That weight is harder to carry than any task. Start by picking one hard thing each day. One task that you don't want to do, but you know you should. One moment where you choose challenge over comfort. It doesn't have to be massive. It just has to be intentional. Make the phone call. Clean the space you've been ignoring. Sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. Speak the truth instead of staying silent. Finish the task without distractions. These are simple, difficult actions, and they are exactly where progress lives. Doing hard things daily is about proving something to yourself. It's about showing yourself that you don't run from pressure, that you don't shut down when things get uncomfortable, that you don't give up just because it's hard. Every time you push through, you rebuild self-respect. That respect doesn't come from words. It comes from evidence, from seeing yourself follow through, from knowing you've got your own back when life gets difficult. You'll never rise above your excuses unless you challenge them. Excuses feel strong when they go untested. They sound convincing in your mind. I'm too tired. It's not the right time. I'll start tomorrow. But when you act anyway, those excuses start to lose their grip. You realize they're just thoughts, not facts. And you get to choose whether they control you. Every time you override one, you take your power back. That's what doing hard things does. It teaches you to lead your mind instead of being led by it. The key is consistency. You don't build strength from a single breakthrough. You build it from daily choices. Small wins. Repeated effort. You build it when you stop negotiating with yourself. When you wake up and do what needs to be done. Not because you feel amazing, but because you've made a decision. That decision creates a rhythm. And that rhythm becomes your discipline. And that discipline becomes your identity. And don't confuse difficulty with pain. Doing hard things doesn't mean hurting yourself. It means stretching your capacity. It means going a little further than you did yesterday. It means not backing down when something challenges you. That could be waking up earlier. It could be finishing your workout even when you want to quit. It could be staying focused for one more hour when you feel distracted. Every one of these small battles matters. They stack. They build you. Your brain loves comfort. It will always try to convince you to take the easy route. That's natural. But growth lives in the resistance. When your mind says stop and you keep going, you train it. You build a new default setting. You show your mind that quitting is not the standard anymore. And over time, that becomes how you move through life. You start to choose challenge. You stop fearing it. You start trusting yourself under pressure. That's when limits start to fall away. This kind of discipline changes more than your habits. It changes how you see yourself. It changes how you walk into a room. It changes how you handle setbacks, because you've trained your mind to stay steady in the middle of stress. You've trained your body to keep moving when things feel heavy. You've trained your emotions to stay calm when things don't go your way. And none of that happens by chance. It happens by choice. One hard thing at a time. Most people never tap into what they're really capable of, because they give up too soon. They feel resistance, and take it as a sign to stop. But resistance is not a wall. It's a door. It's an invitation. It's the point where most people quit, and where the few who keep going separate themselves. That's your edge. That's where you grow. Not before it. Not after it. Right there in the middle of discomfort. That's the test. And you pass it by continuing. This mindset isn't just for goals. It's for life. You'll face situations where backing down seems easier, where speaking up feels risky, where staying honest feels uncomfortable. And if you haven't trained yourself to do hard things, you'll avoid those moments. But if you've practiced, you'll rise to them. Not because they're easy, but because they're necessary. That's how you build a life with no regret. And yes, there will be days when you don't want to push, when everything feels heavier than usual. That's when it matters most. That's when you prove who's in charge. Not your mood, not your laziness, not your fear. You decide that one hard thing is getting done today no matter what. That one choice makes the next one easier. And the next. And soon, you've built a streak. You've built momentum. You've built trust with yourself. This is not about suffering. It's about ownership. It's about choosing effort over excuses. It's about doing what moves you forward even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. Because that's how you break limits. Not by talking about them. Not by thinking about what's possible. By doing the difficult work that stretches you into a stronger version of yourself. And when you keep doing that daily, you become the kind of person who doesn't break under pressure. You don't flinch when things get tough. You don't panic when things don't go your way. You've already built that strength through effort, repetition, and intention. That's what gives you confidence. Not pretending to be strong but proving it through action. You don't need perfect conditions to start. You don't need a detailed plan. You just need a commitment to do one hard thing every day. One uncomfortable task. One courageous choice. One disciplined move. Then repeat. That's how you expand what you're capable of. That's how you become unstoppable. Not all at once, but gradually. Steadily. Relentlessly. If you want to change your life, stop asking how to make it easier. Ask how to get stronger. Ask how to stay focused. Ask how to do the thing you've been avoiding. Then go do it. That's the real work. That's the real path. And that's how you stop living small and start living with power. One hard thing at a time. Every single day. Without excuse. Without an excuse. Without an execution. With full commitment, because that's what it takes to break your limits. For good. Chapter 8. Keep showing up when your mind feels tired. There will be days when your mind feels heavy, when motivation is gone, when your thoughts are slow and unclear, when every task feels harder than it should. That's not failure. That's reality. It's not a sign to stop. It's a signal to shift, a signal to rely on discipline instead of feeling. Because showing up when you feel sharp is easy. Showing up when your mind feels tired is where growth really begins. Mental fatigue is not a weakness. It's part of the process. It shows up when you've been putting in effort, staying focused, pushing through resistance. It means you're doing the work. But when that tired mind tells you to pause everything, to escape, to delay what matters, this is where most people lose ground. They don't realize that consistency isn't built on perfect days. It's built on the days you don't want to do it, but you still do it anyway. You won't always feel clear. Some days your mind will resist the very things you know are good for you. It'll come up with reasons, distractions, and justifications. It'll try to convince you that today doesn't matter, that one day off won't hurt. But that voice is not your ally. That voice is the test. And how you respond to it determines the direction of your life. You don't have to fight it with force. You just have to keep moving. Even slowly. Even quietly. But you keep moving. There's a power in showing up tired. It teaches you that action doesn't need permission. That your effort is not controlled by your energy. That even on days when your mind wants to slow down, your commitment can keep you steady. This kind of strength isn't loud. It's not about shouting or pushing aggressively. It's about refusing to disappear when things get heavy. It's about showing up even when you feel off. You might not do your best work on those days. You might not feel proud of your pace. But showing up still counts. And it always counts more than disappearing. You build something important when you keep going tired. You prove to yourself that your habits don't depend on convenience, that your routine isn't negotiable, that your progress isn't tied to a mood. That kind of mindset builds resilience that no one can take from you. The key is not waiting for the right moment, it's creating momentum with whatever you have. If your thoughts are slow, do something small. If your focus is weak, do something short. But don't sit in the trap of doing nothing, because nothing becomes a pattern. One day off becomes two. A slow week becomes a setback. And soon, you lose the rhythm you spent so much time building. The cost of stopping is always greater than the discomfort of moving forward with a tired mind. You also have to be honest with yourself. Sometimes your mind feels tired because you've been consuming too much noise, too many distractions, too much comparison, not enough quiet, not enough real rest. Mental fatigue isn't always about how much you're doing, it's often about what you're allowing in. Start removing the things that clutter your mind. Stop giving your attention to everything. Protect your energy like it matters, because it does. When your mind is tired, simplify your actions. You don't need a full routine. You need structure. You need one task at a time. Pick one thing that matters, and give it your attention. No multitasking. No bouncing around. Just one task, and finish it. That feeling of completion resets your mind. It reminds you that even in fatigue, you can move forward. Even in chaos, you can find clarity through action. Build small wins on hard days. That's how you stay in control. You don't have to conquer everything. You just have to prove that you won't disappear, that you're still in the game. That tired doesn't mean done. That foggy doesn't mean failure. Most people think progress only happens on strong days. But the truth is, it's those low-energy days that shape your character. It's the quiet work when no one sees that makes you unshakable. You don't need to force it. You need to commit to it. There's a difference. Forcing means you push and burn out. Committing means you keep showing up at the level you can, with what you have. That's sustainable. That's powerful. It keeps you moving forward without crashing. And that forward motion is everything. Your mind will play tricks on you. It will tell you the effort doesn't count if you're not at your best. That's a lie. Every step counts. Every bit of energy you give, even when you're drained, matters, because it's in those moments that you're building the strongest parts of yourself. The parts that don't rely on outside energy. The parts that keep showing up because the mission means more than the feeling. You also need to stop measuring your worth by how much you do. The goal isn't to do more. It's to stay consistent. Some days your output will be high. Some days it won't. But the fact that you showed up, stayed focused, gave what you could, that's progress. That's what keeps you moving forward when everyone else gives in. Mental fatigue is a signal, not a sentence. It's a reminder to slow your pace, not to stop your purpose. Take care of yourself. Drink water. Get sleep. Create space to breathe. But don't quit on the process that's shaping you. Don't disconnect from the habits that are building your future. Keep showing up, especially when your mind tells you to check out. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come after the hardest mental days. You'll look back and realize that pushing through the fog made you sharper. That not giving up when your mind was tired gave you new levels of discipline. That's not just a good habit. That's a lifestyle. That's how you lead yourself. If you only show up when it's easy, you'll live in cycles of inconsistency. Start, stop, high, low, on, off. That keeps you but when you make it a rule to show up anyway, no matter the feeling, you start building momentum that doesn't break. You stop relying on inspiration. You rely on systems, on commitment, on self-leadership. This doesn't mean you ignore your mind. It means you lead it. You tell it where to go instead of letting it pull you away. You say, I hear you. I know you're tired, but we're still moving. That voice creates power. That voice rewires your thinking. That's how you shift from reactive to intentional. You don't need to do it all. You just need to do one thing that matters today, and then again tomorrow, and again the next day. That's the formula. One action at a time, repeated long enough, with enough focus, and enough care. You look back and realize that even when your mind was tired, your discipline was. Most people will stop when it gets hard. Most people will take a break when the pressure rises. But you're not most people. You're the one who keeps showing up, the one who leads your life through difficult seasons, the one who doesn't negotiate with excuses. That mindset alone will put you ahead of everyone waiting to feel ready again. You don't need more time. You need more intention. You don't need more motivation. You need more consistency. Keep showing up, even if the pace is slow, even if your mind is tired, even if no one claps for it, because every step you take in silence builds a future you'll be proud of. And at some point that tired mind becomes trained. It becomes stronger. It becomes used to showing up regardless of the mood. That's when everything changes. You're no longer a victim of your thoughts. You're in control. You're in charge. You lead, and your mind follows. That's the kind of strength that lasts. That's the kind of mindset that wins. Every time.
Chapter 9. Build inner strength through daily discipline and effort. Inner strength is not something you're born with. It's something you earn through effort, choices, and consistent discipline. You don't find it in comfort. You don't unlock it through random motivation. You build it every day when you do the things that are hard, the things that are necessary, the things no one else sees but you do them anyway. That's where inner strength comes from. It's not loud and it's not obvious. It's developed when you silently choose what's right over what's easy. Most people want to feel strong, but they don't want to do what builds strength. They want the results without the routine. They wait for discipline to show up as a feeling, but discipline isn't a feeling. Discipline is a decision. A decision to get up when you'd rather stay in bed. A decision to focus when your mind wants to wander. A decision to act even when your emotions want to stall. That decision made daily is what transforms you from the inside out. You don't build inner strength by talking about it. You build it by proving it to yourself, not to others. When you push yourself to do the work consistently, especially when no one's watching, you start becoming someone you respect, and that self-respect turns into belief. It turns into confidence that's not based on what people say about you, but based on what you've seen yourself do over time. And that kind of confidence doesn't shake easily.
Discipline is the foundation of everything. Without it, your goals stay ideas. Your dreams stay distant. Your plans never make it past the page. But when discipline becomes part of how you live, everything starts to shift. You stop wasting time. You stop chasing short-term pleasure. You stop making excuses for inaction. And you begin to focus, to build, to improve, not because you're being forced, but because you've made it your standard. And that standard grows with time. The first time you choose discipline over distraction, it's difficult. Your body resists. Your mind complains. But the second time, it gets a little easier. The third time, you start building momentum. And eventually discipline becomes a habit. It becomes your automatic setting. And that's when you know you've created something powerful. Because now you're not waiting for motivation. You're moving because it's who you are now. Effort is what fuels that process. Discipline without effort is just intention. It's the effort you give daily that shapes the outcome. And effort doesn't have to mean extreme actions. It means being present in what you're doing. It means giving your full attention to your work. It means following through with what you said you'd do. It means doing the things that build your future, even if no one claps for it. Too many people underestimate what effort can do when it's applied consistently. They think they need big moves to make big changes. But the truth is, your life changes when your small daily actions improve. You get better not by doing everything at once, but by doing the right thing every day without quitting. That's effort. And that's how inner strength is built, by becoming someone who doesn't give up on the small things. You have to set standards for yourself. You have to decide what's acceptable in your routine, and what's not. That could be waking up at a certain time. It could be finishing your tasks before distractions show up. It could be going to the gym when your energy is low. It could be sitting down and doing deep work when you don't feel like it. The standard is yours to set, but once you set it, you stick to it. That's how discipline becomes identity. And identity is what drives behavior. And yes, you will fail sometimes. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about missing a step, but never staying down. It's about having a bad day, but showing up the next day anyway. That kind of consistency builds something deeper than results. It builds belief in yourself, not because everything is working perfectly, but because you're not quitting on yourself when things get hard. You also have to accept that discipline is not always exciting. Some days it will feel boring, repetitive, unrewarding. But that's the test. Can you show up when the feeling is gone? Can you do the right thing, even when no one notices? Can you stay steady when your mind wants a break? That's where inner strength is developed. Not in the highs, but in the steady middle. That's where most people give up. But if you stay with it, that's where you grow beyond who you've been. Effort without excuses. This is what separates people who improve from people who stay stuck. The moment you stop arguing with yourself about why you can't do something, and just do it, you gain momentum. And when you gain momentum, your mindset starts to change. You start believing in the person you're becoming, not just the person you've been. And belief, built on daily action, is the strongest kind you can have. You don't need to be the most talented. You don't need to have the best resources. You need discipline and effort every single day. If you can commit to that, you will outlast people who rely on luck. You will surpass people who are waiting for perfect timing. Because you're not waiting. You're moving. Even on the hard days. Especially on the hard days. This kind of consistency builds an inner calm. You stop panicking when things don't go your way. You don't overreact to setbacks. You don't quit when life hits you. Because you've trained yourself to respond with strength. You've trained your mind to hold steady. That doesn't happen in a week. It happens through repetition, through doing what matters, even when your energy is low. That's where your edge comes from. And as your inner strength grows, your life starts to reflect it. You handle your schedule better. You manage stress more clearly. You make stronger decisions. You don't rely on external praise. You live with a level of control that most people are still trying to find. And that's not luck. That's earned. Through effort. Through discipline. Through showing up when it's inconvenient. Through doing the boring work with pride. Eventually, the person who started with no momentum becomes the person others look up to. The one who stuck with it. The one who stayed disciplined. The one who didn't quit after a bad day. The one who improved, not because they had to, but because they chose to. That kind of person isn't just respected. They respect themselves. And that's the most powerful kind of strength there is. So don't wait for inspiration to act. Build the structure that keeps you consistent. Create a schedule. Stick to your promises. Track your progress. Celebrate effort, not just results. And remember, the most important part of the process is the commitment to keep going. One decision, one habit, one disciplined step at a time. When you focus on effort over outcome, you become unbeatable. Because results come and go. Feelings rise and fall, but effort stays. Discipline stays. And when you live from that place, you don't just chase success, you build a foundation that can support it. One that can weather setbacks. One that can hold strong when things feel uncertain. That's what makes you powerful. Not talent, not motivation, discipline. Repeated effort. Day after day. Without needing applause, without needing to feel amazing. Just the quiet decision to keep going. Because that's who you are now. Chapter 10. Repeat your best habits until they become automatic. Everything you want to improve in life begins with your habits, not the goals you write down. Not the ideas you talk about. The small actions you repeat every single day without fail. That's where growth lives. That's where progress is built. Real change happens when you take your best behaviors and repeat them until they become automatic, so natural that you don't need to think about them anymore. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens by commitment. You pick a habit that matters. You do it every day. You do it when you're tired. You do it when no one sees it. You do it until it becomes who you are. Most people overthink success. They search for some breakthrough idea or secret formula, but they ignore the obvious. The things that work are usually simple. The challenge is doing them consistently enough for them to change you. Waking up early is simple. Writing your goals is simple. Finishing your tasks is simple. But doing those things every day until they become part of you, that's where the transformation happens. Not when you do them once, not when you do them for a week. When you repeat them for so long they become part of your identity. Your brain is shaped by repetition. It doesn't respond to what you do once. It adapts to what you keep doing. That's why your current habits feel automatic. Because you've done them so many times they no longer require effort. If you want to build a stronger life, you don't need to start from scratch. You need to look at the best habits you already have and double down on them. The ones that give you clarity. The ones that make you feel proud. The ones that make your life better every time you do them. Take those habits and repeat them so often that skipping them feels uncomfortable. This process requires patience. Habits are built in silence. There's no applause for showing up to your morning routine. There's no spotlight when you read a chapter a day or plan your priorities each night. But those are the habits that change your direction. When you do the right things long enough, your life begins to shift. Your energy becomes more stable. Your discipline grows deeper. Your thinking gets clearer. But you only get there if you're willing to repeat your best efforts without chasing variety, without looking for the next new thing, without jumping to shortcuts. We live in a world full of noise. Everyone is offering new tips, new systems, new hacks. But here's the truth most people ignore. You don't need more strategies. You need more consistency. One habit done every day beats 1,000 new ideas never practiced. You don't need 10 new habits. You need 2 or 3 habits done with absolute discipline. That's where your power is. That's where confidence is built, by showing up for what works until it becomes second nature. There will be days when your mind will try to convince you to skip what you know is right. It'll say, just this once. That's the moment that decides whether your habit gets stronger or weaker. Every time you follow through, even when it's inconvenient, you train your mind to believe that your standards are not optional, that your discipline is real, that your word to yourself matters. And once your brain sees that, it begins to automate the behavior. You no longer have to push yourself so hard. Your habits begin to carry you. Repetition rewires your thinking. It builds new pathways in your brain. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop relying on motivation. You start doing what matters because it has become normal. That's what real freedom looks like. Not having to fight with yourself every morning. Not having to use energy to decide what you already know is right. You've made the choice enough times that now it's automatic. Now it's embedded. Now it's who you are. That doesn't mean every day will feel the same. You'll still have ups and downs. But your habits will protect you. They'll keep you grounded when life feels uncertain. They'll keep you steady when pressure rises. They'll keep you moving when you feel stuck. Because you've trained yourself to act without needing everything to feel perfect. And that training is what separates people who last from people who give up. If you've ever wondered how strong people stay consistent, this is the answer. They don't wait for motivation. They build systems that support their best habits. They plan their routines. They protect their focus. They eliminate distractions. And they repeat. Over and over, without needing to feel excited. Without looking for instant results. They stay the course because they trust the process. You have to trust it too. That means picking your key habits and committing to them without exception. You wake up and follow your routine. You review your goals. You move your body. You block time to think. You finish your tasks. You do it every day. And if you miss one, you reset. You don't let it become 2. You correct quickly. That's how you stay sharp. That's how you build strength over time. And be honest with yourself. You know which habits are making you better. You know which ones bring you clarity and confidence. Focus on those. Don't chase trends. Don't copy someone else's system. Build a routine that reflects your values. A routine that brings out your best without overwhelming your mind. Simplicity wins. Consistency wins. Repetition wins. The more you repeat a habit, the less friction you feel. What once felt difficult now feels natural. You start to crave structure. You start to feel off when you don't follow through. That's how you know the habit is locked in. It's no longer something you have to force. It's something you expect from yourself. That shift changes everything. Because now your habits are no longer tools. They are part of your identity. You become the kind of person who doesn't skip what matters. The kind of person who follows through. The kind of person who doesn't wait for the right mood to act. You do what's necessary, because it's the standard you live by. And when your standards rise, your results follow. Not because you did something extreme, but because you did something excellent over and over again. You'll be tempted to chase new routines. You'll hear advice that says you need to switch things up. But don't forget, repetition is what builds results. Not variety. Not novelty. Repetition. The world is full of people who start strong and stop quickly. Be different. Be the one who repeats. Be the one who keeps going. Be the one who doesn't need new to stay committed. Track your habits. Review them, improve them slowly. But stay with them, because the day you stop repeating what works is the day you start sliding backward. Habits don't just build, they protect. They guard your focus. They defend your goals. They remind you who you're becoming, and when you repeat them long enough, they become your foundation. That foundation gives you a kind of strength that doesn't break easily. You'll still face challenges. You'll still deal with setbacks, but your habits will keep you grounded. They'll remind you that progress is still possible. That one strong day can get you back on track. That one routine can pull you out of a slump. That one decision can reset your direction. You don't need a perfect system to succeed. You need repeated action. Simple, focused, repeated action. Day after day. Month after month, until your habits become so automatic that you don't even question them. They are just part of how you live now. And that lifestyle is what brings long-term success. Start where you are. Take what's working. Strengthen it. Don't let inconsistency take away what you've built. Keep showing up. Keep choosing the habit. Keep trusting that the small wins matter. They always matter more than you think. Your future doesn't need a complete reinvention. It needs consistency with what already works. It needs you to double down on the routines that give you peace, energy, focus, and progress. Don't look for complicated answers. Repeat your best habits. Repeat them until you don't have to remind yourself anymore, until your day flows around them, until your mind expects them. That's when you know the work is paying off. Repeat your best habits. Not once. Not when it's convenient. Every day, until they become part of who you are. Solid, stable, automatic. And once you've done that, there's nothing in life you won't be able to handle, because now your discipline leads your decisions. And that is the mark of someone who's truly in control.